But I'm not going to tell somebody to go to the gym to go meet more women.
Why not?
Because I'm going to tell them to go get access to the right environments. Because the same amount of time that they'd spend in the gym, they could get like direct results. Like I'm talking about like.
But there's no. It's not this or that though, because you're not going to be in a nightclub for 16 hours a day.
It's not this or
the
that.
Gym
but
takes
you can
1 hour a day, 3 times a week.
No.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. This podcast is sponsored by Austen Summers Academy, the complete dating system that shows you step by step how to get women into your life during 8 weeks of high impact mentorship. Link in description. And this podcast is now available on iTunes, Spotify, Castbox, and YouTube. Wherever you may be listening, enjoy. Welcome to the Austen Summers Podcast, the mind-expanding podcast that will get you the girls that you want. I'm Austen Summers. I'm your host as always. I'm an international dating coach and relationships expert, and I teach a Medellin immersion program in Colombia and do online mentorship. And today I'm joined by Patrick Red.
What's up?
He's a dating coach who teaches clients year-round to learn elite networking, social circle game, and lifestyle design. He helps men escape toxic social environments and meet women without hundreds of cold approaches. Please join me in welcoming my student, my mentor, and my friend, the social circle god, Patrick Red.
I'm so excited to be here. I've been thinking about this for like the last month or so. Loving Medellin, Colombia. Such a beautiful day. We got the windows open. Nice weather.
Nice breeze coming through.
And I'm really excited to share a lot of these insider social circle god code laws that I haven't shared anywhere else before publicly. So if you're listening to this and you listen to this all the way through, you're definitely going to get some crazy content that I don't think has ever been put out there about social circle game.
Yeah, and the reason I had Patrick come on today is because he's one of a handful of people who teaches social circle game, but he's responsible for most of the ideas in social circle game. So I brought him on. He's going to talk about social circle game, how to hook up with au pairs in your city, the 2 biggest mistakes that guys make that prevents them from getting results, how to throw good parties, his personal preferences of what he likes better, cold approach, social circle game, and why. And then we're going to answer your questions that we got off of Instagram. So let's get into it. Give us a little bit of background about how you got into social circle game and maybe a little bit of your personal backstory as well.
So the first thing that I'll highlight is just the results-based focus that I've definitely helped instill in a lot of my clients and a lot of my students and a lot of the people around me as well. I've partied with Summer Rae, Instagram model, over 20 million followers, for her 22nd birthday in Las Vegas. Partied with celebrity VIP host and red carpet charity event host Michael Sartain. I partied with Dan Bilzerian girls as well, but it wasn't always like that. When I would say about a year and a half ago, I had been in 3 long relationships with very, very depressed women, and you can relate to this as well if you've been in relationships with depressed women. It just fucks with your mind. I had a business partner who was very, very depressed and to the point of suicidal as well, and it was just the worst possible environment I could ever be in. I dropped out of college like 2.5 years before I ended up breaking up with my girlfriend, so was in a basement most of the time, didn't have the social skills or any friends at that point. So after I broke up with my girlfriend and my first business failed in the same weekend, I discovered game from YouTube and started going out every night, just trying to make friends. And it was one of the most gruesome processes that, just like painful processes that I could possibly go through. Then a couple months later, got mentorship, and that was the fastest thing that expanded my results. And then the I would say the pinnacle of like where everything just started like becoming this giant packed snowball was when I was at a pickup event in Washington D.C. and one of the speakers was talking about how promoters get laid the most. And one of the promoters raised his hand and told how many girls he'd slept with. And it was like 27 girls in like the last week. Last week. Not that. Last year. And I was like, wow. Like I'd only slept with 4 or 5 girls in my life up to that point. And I was like, I need to become friends with this guy because he's doing something right that the other people around me are not doing. Became best friends with him, and that's when everything exploded. Private yacht parties, meeting celebrities, free access to nightclubs when I wasn't even 21. I would have girls showing up to my house regardless of whether or not I actually invited anybody over. And I was just having this consistency in regular sex and regular events and lifestyle that I always wanted. But it was so crazy how fast that transition was just from meeting the right people, from having that very lonesome, depressed, toxic environment to being around the types of people that were happy, uplifting, and got me the consistent results that I wanted in my life.
Nice. And for people who don't know, what is social circle game? I know you said it's like you think it's like the next level of game. It's after you kind of get some results and you want to like make things a little bit easier on yourself and get maximum results with minimal effort.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you define it? And then what would you say are the biggest mistakes that prevent people from getting it? From getting good.
So defining social circle game sounds like it's something that's different than everything else that's out there. What social circle game I thought was just a product of having good cold approach skills. The entire purpose of like meeting somebody and then never seeing them again was kind of like, okay, what did I just put in all that effort for?
Yeah, you like hit the reset button, right?
Yeah, it's like every day I'm hitting the reset button. Like, what the fuck is this? Instead, like I just people collected, just added people to my Instagram, became friends with them, and then decided to do things later on with them. So I'd go host pre-games before we went out to the club. I'd meet somebody on a Friday, right, the previous week, and then I'd invite them to come over to my place before we went out to the club together. Now I'm showing up to the club that they were already going to go to. They just showed up to my house an hour earlier. And that's how I've been able to meet so many people so quickly. And honestly, I think that I've built one of the fastest social circles in the pickup community in the last year.
Can social circle game apply to all guys?
Yeah.
You say yes, but I would say no, and it's because of the environment thing and the fact that it's very difficult for people to even get to the social acuity level.
But that tells you that something is inherently different from the people. Somebody can physically be present. You can hook up with girls based on where you're standing in a nightclub. There's nothing that keeps you from literally physically being present in a seat at a nightclub.
My thing though is that I'd say 98% of people under these ideal situations where they had the enough pain to move and enough pain to start game and this other stuff, they could do it. But a lot of people are just kind of like complacent.
Could do it is different than do they actually do it. So if we're saying
in reality, I think
any guy can do social circle game. The great thing about social circle game is that it is duplicatable, consistent, and repeatable. Mm-hmm. There is literally no difference between a lot of the guys. How you look really doesn't matter if you're at the DJ booth in Hakkasan on a night when Drake is there, because there's going to be 40 women around you that are my personal 10s. And if I was sitting there, if Austen was sitting there, if even some ugly dude who I don't even know was 4 foot tall and a midget, he'd probably still hook up with a girl in that environment. And that's not a lie, dude. Like, when you're in those environments, in those high-status environments, girls' hypergamy just kicks in.
Mm-hmm. And what are the two biggest things that you think prevent guys from kind of doing what you've done and meeting those type of girls? First, because some people listening to this, they're going to think, like, oh, he partied with Dan Bilzerian girls, he partied with Summer Rae. Like, I can never do that. That's so outside of my reality.
So 2 things. Suspend your disbelief and take action. Take decisive, fast action. The idea that somebody can get results that you can't get results from means that they have something intrinsically different than you.
Mm-hmm.
If you really believe that you couldn't actually be Dan Bilzerian, then that's a mindset issue. If you like, you might not want to be Dan Bilzerian, but if you want to be somebody and you believe that you can't do that, you're kind of fucking up, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
It's better for you just to assume that you can do anything that anyone else does. Like there are literal steps that you can take, and you can follow the exact path that somebody else took to get there.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about that. So, what would you say if someone's, because a certain percentage of my audience has already gotten a lot of results. They've gotten results in day game, night game, they've had girlfriends, etc. But let's say they want to take this little social circle game thing to the next level. And let's be clear, the social circle game isn't just having, you don't have like a group of 200 friends that you just do everything with.
No.
It's and be specific. Let's just cover that. What's specifically like kind of like some of the things that you use and that you would recommend to other people that they use if they've already gotten some results? They're pretty normal. They have a decent like physique. They have a decent like, they're decently of value, and they've gotten some results. They know how to talk to girls. They know how to lead to sex. What would you say would be some things they can try out or steps they can take to take it to the next level?
So the first two steps that I always implement for my clients is having a very structured habit system. So working out, meditation, cold showers, eating well, getting enough sleep, just the default things that you should be doing if you are taking action in your life. Not that they're required, but they're just action-taking habits. And then the second thing is goal setting. So being explicit with the exact people, the exact venues that you want, the exact girls that you want to hook up with, and literally like screenshotting them and putting them on a vision board. I have this vision board that literally has screenshots of the exact girls that I want to hook up with, where, like, what city they live in, the guys who are around those girls, the guys who have the lifestyle that I want, and the exact venues that I want to visit. I have a screenshot of even when you had some Instagram story one day, and you're like, oh, look at my view out of my apartment. And I was like, okay, I need to go visit Colombia. That is a spot that I need to go travel to. And just being specific. A lot of the times, like you might relate to this, right? You think of a girl that you like, and you can't define what type of hair color she has. Like, for the people that I know that are getting the best results with their ideal type of women, they know that they like brunette-haired girls that are dyed blonde, that have medium-length hair. It's not too thick or not too thin. They have a face that is free from blemishes. They have very succulent lips, maybe fake lips. They wear fake eyelashes. They have fake tits. They have a very slim body type. They have thin arms, not very masculine arms. They have a reddish or brownish tan. And they are 5'8". They used to play volleyball. Like, they go to...
it's funny.
They go to Bottle Blonde on Wednesdays. They go to Riot House on Saturdays. Like, they know the specific types of girls that they want, and that's how they get results.
So my girlfriend, as you know, is bi.
Is she really? I would not have known that, Austen.
We had a foursome the other night with his girl too, and they were just like hooking up with each other. It's pretty good. But yeah, my girlfriend asked me, she's like, what kind of girls do you like? And I'm like, oh, wait 1 second. Let me just open my phone. And I have in my notes on my phone, like, specifically exactly what I want in a girl. Mm-hmm. And she just grabs it and she's like, okay.
She's like reading it and she's like flabbergasted that you actually have defined something in your life. And I mean, guys will just be like, yeah, I'll be okay with these girls. And I'm like, what do you mean you'd be okay with these girls?
Yeah, have higher standards. And one thing I'd say is you won't know if you're just listening to this and you're a beginner, you won't really know what kind of girls you want. I would recommend try a bunch of different things.
But pick something.
Yeah. Well, for people just starting out, maybe just their looks threshold. So like maybe they don't like girls who are super skinny and they look like skeletons.
But the great part about goals is that goals mean that it has a timeline on it. A goal doesn't mean that you have just a picture, right? It has a timeline by a date when you want to finish that. And at that date, you go and then you reevaluate your goals.
Yeah, so goal plus deadline equals
So if
results.
you're a guy and you haven't hooked up with that many girls, or you don't feel like you know what type of girls you like, take screenshots of girls that you've already hooked up with. Find other girls who look like that, or find girls that you've had crushes on. find girls that you think you would like, and just set those as goals. And then in a week from now, in 2 weeks from now, in 2 months from now, you can clearly say yes or no. Do I like these types of girls? And it becomes way easier when you have this dichotomy.
The biggest problem that guys have is they don't set the end goals. And that's cool and all, but if you don't set the end goals, you end up doing something that you don't really want to do. So the end goal is the goal, right? The goal of learning cold approach pickup is not to become a better guy. The goal of cold approach pickup is to hook up with girls that you like. So let's divorce the idea of something is for personal development and the idea that something is for results. If you want something for results, then you're going to do whatever the thing is that gets you to the results, regardless of what it is. So for example, if you want to get a nice body and you say the only way that I want to do that is through keto, well, that's kind of dumb. There might be other ways that get you to that same result. While keto might be a way that gets you to that ideal body, there are definitely other ways. It's the same thing of like, if you want to hook up with a hot blonde girl that has C-cup tits that are fake, has dyed blonde hair from brunettes, is 5'8", used to be in a volleyball, like used to play volleyball in college. She's now 24 years old, and she lives in Arizona, Scottsdale, Arizona, right? And she goes to Bottled Blonde every Wednesday. She goes to Riot House every Saturday. If you want to go meet that girl through cold approach, you're literally, like, your only goal should be, like, to hook up with that girl, right? I don't care if I meet her from cold approach, Instagram, Tinder, or social circle game, right? But I just know that from my experiences that the best way that I found probably to hook up with her is through social circle game. So instead of trying to attribute the results with some type of process, just suspend your disbelief, accept whatever is put in front of you, take action on that, and then like recognize and set goals like, oh, if I haven't achieved this, then I'm doing something wrong by this amount of time. Does that make sense to you?
So you should not. That's kind of unclear. Why don't you give a concrete example of like a goal? So a goal would be that meeting
a goal
that
is
girl?
like a girl could be.
But what you're saying that the process to meet her doesn't matter, but isn't the process kind of what you teach and what I teach?
But the process, like, I wouldn't care. The whole point is that some guys have attachment to how they meet a girl, whether they meet it through cold approach. Like there's some
so like
type
if
of,
they say if like they meet them
justification.
through an Instagram bot, then it would be a lower.
Yeah, like they're like, oh, well, you're just meeting those girls. You're just hooking up with those girls because you're a promoter. Oh, you're just hooking up with those girls because you're a photographer. You're just hooking up with those girls because you're friends with their friends. Who cares?
Like,
there's no
one of my favorite
justification.
points to make is that ultimately what matters is that she's with you and that she ultimately falls in love with you. She ultimately likes to be around you. It doesn't matter how she initially has an impression of you. It doesn't matter how your foot got in the door with in terms of like what method you use. As long as, I kind of agree with that point.
I mean, a more concrete example would be you work 18 months for $100,000 and then somebody hands you $100,000 on the street. In both scenarios, you have $100,000. One you worked 18 months for, one someone just handed you. You're not going to be like, sorry, I can't have that $100,000. I didn't work for it. Like, nobody, that's
Although
gay.
there is something to be said about the more effort you put into something, the more you appreciate it. Right?
Of course.
So like that's the whole example of like fraternities. There's like a barrier to entry, and you go through a traumatic experience that actually bonds you to someone, and then once you're in, you're like, holy shit, I went through all that, and now I'm in, and I appreciate it more.
Well, that's
like,
actually
same thing with like tribes in Africa.
But that's not the same thing as like the result, right? So you might appreciate the girl more if it took you a little bit more, but the idea is to get the result, right?
Yeah, but I also think a lot of people can get lost if all they're pursuing is the results. Because it's like the guy who pursues money and he keeps doing it, and then he doesn't have enough time to step away from his business to like see like, why am I actually making money for? Like I'm accumulating money in a bank account, but what am I going to use it for? Because I can't use it after I'm dead. Like, I kind of find a similar thing with game is some people can get lost in getting the lays, right? I have a 250 lay count. Oh shit.
I'd rather have a guy who's getting laid consistently and hasn't had that. I'd rather have a guy who's getting laid consistently and also has the problems with personal development than a guy who isn't getting laid consistently and also has the same exact problems with personal development. Because just for me, I'm very results oriented. I'd rather be like.
But
like,
for me, I think it's both. Like for me,
It
your
can
personal
be both.
development coincides with your results.
Think about
Because for example, if I get more jacked,
Yeah.
girls will feel like I'm more physically dominant. I can protect them more. I have more social status. I have more like strength, and they like that. And so that's an example of personal development increasing my game. Another example would be if I 10x'd my income. There's science that shows if you 10x your income, you will be up to 2 points more attractive to a girl.
Mm-hmm.
It's another like a different area or meditation. If I can be more present in an interaction and be more present in a conversation with a girl, then she's going to enjoy that experience more with me. If I improve my humor, I'm funnier with the girl. So for me, it's always been both, and I see them both at the same point. But I'm doing the thing that gets me results as well. I'm pursuing mentors. I stay with a mentor for 2 years to learn like what is the optimal way to do game in every different situation, you know. And so I agree, but I also don't agree. I agree that
the whole point is to divorce the idea of you're going to the gym to get you girls or you're going to the gym for yourself. Because you can go to the gym to get you girls, but that might not be the best route to get girls, if that makes sense.
Oh no, I 100%.
So that's the big
I
idea is to divide the two concepts. Is like,
it's not one or the other. It's not a dichotomy. It's for me. It's more nuance. It's that plays a part in it. If I still looked like a skeleton, you know, girls would be less attractive.
But I'm not going to tell somebody to go to the gym to go meet more women.
Why not?
Because I'm going to tell them to go get access to the right environments. Because the same amount of time that they'd spend in the gym, they could get like direct results. Like I'm talking about like.
But there's no. It's not this or that though, because you're not going to be in a nightclub for 16 hours a day.
It's not this or that.
Gym
but
takes
you can
1 hour a day, 3 times a week.
No, 100% agreed. But the whole point is to, like, for example, a guy will be like doing something for himself, right?
What would you say the point is of differentiating between results and personal development?
So an example is like a guy goes to a club because he likes that club or likes that music, and he tries to go meet girls there, right? Mm-hmm. So he's doing the thing for himself. That's like I like.
But that's
this
not
music.
personal development. That's just something that he enjoys.
But that's talking about like he's like I want a good body. And the good body isn't the thing that gets you directly the results. It can help you get the results, but the whole point is that you can think
the highest leverage thing would
things.
Be to be around the kind of girls that you want to be around, and to talk to them, and then to move forward towards sex.
Yeah. Yes. So I just for like for example, Post Malone, right? Like high value guys, a lot of the times they don't have the personal development in their life, right?
Yeah, because their
high
social
value.
Their social status outweighs it, or other things are more important.
So the idea is that,
but they also do have the qualities. I had a debate recently about this. We had he does have, what other qualities does he have? He's a musician, which shows he has like good motor coordination. He's intelligent, at least in that area. He's rich. He's famous. The fame thing is even more huge because it's usually packaged with social status. And
of course. Money. But like guys like that, they don't need to do any type of personal development in the same way that a lot of the pickup community talks about doing personal development.
Yeah, that's true.
I've seen guys that don't go to the gym. The whole point is that I've seen guys who get results.
People can get results. I 100% agree with that. People can get results by just living like a dirtbag existence.
And that's cool. Like obviously like that if you're listening to this, you might not want to be a dirtbag and also hook up with girls, right? But if you're a dirtbag and not hooking up with the girls and a dirtbag and hooking up with girls, I personally would rather be the dirtbag that's hooking up with girls and then figure out the personal development things for myself.
Yeah, and I think that's actually how most people end up doing it anyway. I mean, that for me, that was it too. I did get in a little bit of personal development beforehand, but when I started game was like, I went so far into it, and I wasn't taking care of my physique. I wasn't eating the best. I wasn't,
sleeping well,
meditating, sleeping well. I wasn't doing pretty much any of that stuff. And then over time, I hit a wall. And then when I hit that wall, I was like, I feel like my brain is always going all over the place. I'm very in my head when I talk to girls a lot of the time. Mm-hmm. Okay, maybe I should try meditation. Mm-hmm. And then so every time I kind of hit like a wall, I just implemented something else. So like one example is Like this past year, I tried to work on my fashion more because I used to have really horrible fashion, and like didn't really care about my appearance that much. And I'm making an effort to do better at that, and that's another thing that influences it as well, right? Yeah, same thing with lifestyle. Like have a decent idea of what you're going for, and then over time it'll change. What's one thing I thought of? Well, I'm in I've always had a nice apartment here in Colombia. We've been to 4 different places, but I thought like, oh shit, if I had a jacuzzi in my bathroom, that would be fucking sick. That would make me so happy. I use the jacuzzi like once per month, and I'm like, it's kind of cool. It's like a bath. And I'm like, I don't need a fucking jacuzzi now.
Yep.
You know, it's like over time you figure out what you value more and more. It gets more specific. So goal setting, and then one of the other things you think a lot of people miss out on, and one thing that's very, very important, is people's environment. So and you said that the environment could be the difference between someone getting results from limited action taking or just beating their head against the wall and not getting anything.
Yeah, I remember you had an Instagram post that was like a guy living in Wyoming is talking about how he can't get results with women, but some guy who's, you know, a 6 out of 10 in game, it lives in New York City, and he gets 10 out of 10 results because the environments are different. If you are a 10 out of 10 guy and you're not getting 10 out of 10 results, it's probably because your environment, it's either because you don't have 10 out of 10 a game, or your environment is less than your game ability. So this is what I mean by that, right? You could put the same guy, say a guy who has a 6 out of 10 in game in terms of his skill, and put him into a bottle service table, which is a 10 out of 10 environment, 40 girls and like 5 guys, and he will hook up with more girls than a guy who is a 10 out of 10 a game and a 6 out of 10 in an environment. Because the environment, he's only going to hook up with 6 out of 10 girls, or 6 out of 10 as in quality, as opposed to a guy who's a 6 out of 10 in game and is always around 10 out of 10 girls will hook up with the hottest girls. It has nothing to do with game.
Yeah, and here in Colombia, we some of my friends here, we've thrown parties, and the ratio is almost always like 2 girls to every 1 guy, or like 3 girls to every 1 guy. And ideally, like the ratio should be around 2 to 3 to 1. If it's like too much more, the girls kind of get bored, right?
Yeah, I mean,
and then if it's like 1 to 1, then the girls don't have to compete as much.
Yeah, I mean,
but
that's diving into the specifics of it, but the whole there's a core principles, right? It's cool to like tell you the exact technique or the technical knowledge. Like a technique is like you say this line to a girl. The knowledge is like you need to open the girl, but the skill set is like you need to understand what somebody else wants and then offer them what they want. And that's a fast way to build connections. And
I think a lot of guys
focus on the skill set as opposed to the techniques and the knowledge. If you learn how to just offer value, you will hook up with more girls.
So a lot of guys listening, they'll hear like offer value, but they won't really know what that is in practical terms.
Value.
Yeah. So yeah, offering value and how to get access to more high status places and what to offer value for those types of things.
So the core concept is how to offer value. Now, you may be listening and thinking, I don't have anything to offer. I don't know any cool people. I don't have a lot of money. I don't know a lot of hot girls. I don't have a lot of things, right? But to offer value, you don't actually have to have value. It's really cool if you do have value, but it's not actually necessary. So here's an example of how to offer value. Say you walk up to a nightclub promoter and you say, hey man, I hope you're having a great night. I know it looks really, really stressful. I know you're really, really busy, but I have a couple friends that are coming out of town this weekend and they're looking for bottle service tables. Is it okay if I send them your way? The guy's like, oh, of course. Yeah. Like, here's my number. And he gives you his number right away. And he's like, text me right now so I know that I have you locked in. And you text him right there and you say your name and you say, client's coming this weekend for bottle service tables. There you go. Like, you don't actually need to have clients to offer him value of having clients. Now, in the future, the ideal situation is that you've actually attained some amount of value, but initially, you don't actually have to know anybody to offer value. For example, if I say, hey, Austen, I'd love to take Instagram photos for you sometime. Now, I don't actually have to take Instagram photos for you to see me as higher value. Now, it'd be cool if I took Instagram photos for you, but I don't actually have to do them for you to be like, thanks, bro. I really appreciate that.
Because that initial impression of you is very powerful, right?
It's not even the initial impression, right? It's actually the continued impression. I think it's less. I think first
so what
impressions
happens
are
if
really
they go,
underrated.
hey man, where are those clients that you said were coming?
Nobody has ever done that. That's a needy behavior. Like for them to then ask for you to like reward them for something is actually needy behavior on the other person's hand, which actually makes you higher
But don't
value
they
still.
think that?
No. Never ever had that.
Well,
If
how do you
offer
know what
somebody-
they're thinking?
I've never had the negative
But
consequences.
I get what you're saying is though that's a good like impression to make. And
it's
then,
not an impression. It's like future value. Like I've had promoters and VIP hosts that I've said that to a year ago. I've sent them a couple people since then, but they still see me as high value because I've connected with multiple people throughout.
yes, but
different
it's even
cities.
better if you can actually.
Yeah, but the whole point is
provide
that
value.
like if you're sitting there right now and you don't feel like you have any value, that is the first step, is just to learn how to offer value. Once, like, I'm pretty sure Russell Brunson talks about this. He says if somebody offers you $1 million contract to like do something, what you do is you accept it and then you figure out how to actually like go through with it later.
Mm-hmm.
It's better to have that offer of value out there and never fulfill it than to never have that offer of value out there in the first place.
Mm-hmm. And what other kind of things do you have examples for?
So offering value.
So that's one practical example is you can say, hey man, and you know what is of value to a promoter, right?
Mhm.
And it's basically going to always be the same things, right? Girls, clients, access to other things,
Mhm.
maybe photography.
But a guy might not just care about those things. Like a promoter might be happy with his money. He might be happily with a girlfriend. He might just offering value could be as simple as getting him to talk about what his true ambition would be. What would you be doing if you weren't here? What is your ideal lifestyle?
And then connecting him to someone who could help him with that.
Well, not even just offering to connect him with somebody that could help him. So, for example, I know VIP hosts that feel like they have these golden handcuffs. And that means like they feel like they have an amazing life, but they're forced to live that life. They have to show to the club every single day. They have to go to these meetings. They have to be on their phone all the time. And it's cool, but some of them have ideal lives that they wish they could live outside of that. And even just being the person for them to vent their feelings to is already being high value and offering them value. So let me break down the exact steps in offering value. I gave you an example just so it cements in your mind, but let's give you the actual process and the skill set, which is much more important. The first thing is to just open and get their attention. The second part is to find their primary driver emotion. Primary driver emotion, PDE, means what actually fuels them. It could be that they just want to talk about their day. It could be girls. It could be money. It could be literally anything that just gets them to talk about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
A PDE is really just meant to get somebody to talk about themselves to you. Then you build commonalities on whatever they say to you. So, for example, you can build commonalities based on where you're from. You can make commonalities based on what you both like, your favorite types of genre of music, your childhood, how old you are, how long you've been at that club. Like, it's literally everything. An example of building a commonality would be, oh, you're from California? What part of California are you from? The guy says, I'm from Newport Beach. And then you say, oh, that's crazy. I've been to Newport Beach one time. It was incredible. Like, did you like it out there? And even you both having the experience of being in Newport Beach, is that actually something that really solidifies you? No, it's just you've been in the same physical location. It's literally like your molecules were both in the same place at the same time, right? But that actually builds a commonality, and it makes people trust you more. It makes people feel like they know you more. Mm-hmm. And it gets them to want to talk about themselves more. And then the next step is what's called a future projection. So a future projection is something that you guys are going to do in the future. And again, this doesn't actually have to be something that you actually go and do. Like, I've offered people to go to Miami. And I'll be like, hey, let's go on this trip to Miami. It's going to be baller. We got to go sometime this spring. And they're like, oh, awesome. By the way, let me get your Instagram. And like when we do that Miami trip, I'd love to send you an invite. And it's like, okay, cool. It's like, I don't actually need to go on that Miami trip. It ended up happening, and then all the people that I invited ended up like making it happen for me. I didn't even put in the work, but just because I insinuated it so much. But they end up like just seeing you as higher value because a lot of people don't think about what someone else is feeling. And you talk about that in game a lot as well.
Yeah, one thing you mentioned is that I think is so good. It's good in game. It's good in doing anything. Because some people ask, like, how to get invited to parties, how to get invited to things. But if you're just the person who creates it, then people want to come. Most people are not going to take the initiative to do their own things. So if you're the one creating an event, creating a thing, and just putting the pieces together, you're seen as extremely high value. And they're at your party. They're at your event, right?
I mean, I think that's really...
I want to be even more clear with that. Most people are not going to take the initiative to start anything or to throw any kind of party or event and invite people. So if you do that, people will love you because you're doing the hardest thing and they just show up and have a great time. So yeah.
But a lot of the things that I teach a lot of my clients is to figure out who's already hosting the parties. So who's already hosting the parties, and how can you add a little bit of value?
Yeah,
you
so
might
if
there
they're
might
throwing
already
a party,
be,
you can bring girls to it or take photos.
Yeah,
of it
it's
or whatever.
literally as simple as, do you have a camera? Like, you can buy a $200 camera and get access to so many events.
Yeah.
I got access to this event in Beverly Hills because I didn't even have a camera. I said I was a photographer, and I didn't even have a camera. And the other guy that came with me, my photographer, didn't even have batteries in his freaking camera, and we got access to this crazy I can't even say the name of it. It's so crazy. But we got access to this private event by just saying that we were there to take photos. And it's like, we didn't actually have any value, but we offered value enough to get into the events.
Now I want to touch on some other things. So one of the things I think is coolest about your type of social circle stuff is that you've done a lot of it with au pairs, which are practically like, and even just in cold approach, it's like one of the best kind of people to meet, right?
Yeah.
Because they're girls that are basically alone in a new place, wanting to make new connections with friends, with girls, with guys, wanting to like go to cool events. They're more adventurous, right? Because they're in a new place. So take us through how you kind of built a social circle of au pair game and how you like infiltrated these groups. And like
okay, so right now I'm one of the admins of the Maryland, Washington, D.C., and Virginia au pair Facebook groups. And at any time I need a date, I just send in that group, hey, I'd love to take some Instagram photos. I'm free this weekend. Come over to my place. I have a spot where we can shoot photos. And it's like anytime I want a date, all I have to do is say that.
So even there, you're offering value to those girls, right?
Yeah. And I'm not actually a photographer.
It's the same thing with pulling too. You want to offer, like, just in cold approach, you want the two reasons a girl will go back with you is she likes you or she wants something you have. And in this case, you start with the thing that they want, and then they're in an environment where you can interact with them, and then they end up liking you.
Yeah, but a lot of guys never have access to the girls. Like,
how did you get access?
You might relate to this.
How did this start?
Yeah, so I just met a couple of au pairs right at the club. It was like a under 21 club, and invited them to a pregame. I literally talked about this example already. Like, I invited them to a pregame the next week, and she brought 4 of her other friends from South Africa, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I have four girls in my apartment. I was like so proud of myself. I was like, it's like the closest thing is like girls are already in the sex location that I could possibly hook up with them. I ended up hooking up with one of them later that night, and I realized that like I wouldn't have been able to meet those 3 girls if I hadn't made friends with that one girl. And au pairs are in the best scenario, like you said. Like, they don't have any money. They get paid like $100 a week. They don't know anybody there. They're very adventurous. They're all very, very young, like 18 to 21-year-olds. And in the U.S., when most girls would be in college, they're not in college at all. Continuing on with that, they have so much free time because they don't work on the weekends. And they love Instagram. Every single au pair has the same exact Instagram, and it's the most hilarious thing ever. They put so much weight on their social presence because they probably come from much poorer countries and they need to have this like public perception to get what they want. So if you want to go experience a bunch of different countries, you can literally become friends with au pairs. And one au pair girl will have a bunch of other girls, like 5 to 15 other au pair friends that are from the same exact country. So if you want to fuck girls from Italy, you can go fuck girls from Italy by making friends with an au pair that is from Italy. And you can go find these girls on Facebook groups. You can find these girls on Instagram. It's really, really easy.
So yeah, give us some tactical examples of like, or things that you invite them to, the VIP events. Yeah.
So VIP events, photo shoots, pre-game / after parties, going out to the club, dinners. With photo shoots, all you need is your iPhone. Like iPhones take good enough photos. You invite a girl and you say, hey, photos sometimes. And then she's like, oh, like yes or no. And then you just tell her a time and place that you want to go meet her. Like I've literally done like 2 text message setups with girls because they just want photos.
And dude, photos are such good dates as well.
Yeah, it's like you're going
telling them
experience.
They're telling them exactly what to do. They're following your orders. They feel kind of like sexy in a way. They feel more feminine. They feel beautiful around you. You're kind of high status too because you're offering them value, right? And you're the one at the
and you're building compliance.
Center of the event.
You're building compliance. That's the biggest thing. The girls are literally showing off to you.
Yeah,
that is the most investment that they're qualifying themselves, and that is investment. And the more investment a girl gives you, the more likely you are to hook up with her. Then the second one is talking about pre-games or after parties. Those girls are already going out to the nightclubs because they don't know anybody there. They're literally going out to nightclubs because they can't go meet people during the day because they work. And they just need to go. They want to go meet people. They're bored. They're freaking 18 to 21-year-old girls that have no dick. They literally don't know other guys in the city. And you just offer to have a pregame. And a pregame consists of you with a bottle of alcohol that they could even bring. That's all it takes. And then after parties is, in my opinion, the most important because that's actually talking about how you can end up with girls in a possible space that sex can happen despite your game. Despite your game. You can end up hooking up with girls regardless of whether or not you pulled them or you even like messaged them for the logistics. A lot of the times when I host pre-games, girls already assume that they're going to come to my place afterwards to come pick up their things. And all it takes is, hey, do you want to take another shot? And then moving it sexually forward by literally just being there. Like, girls will literally choose you at the end of the night and will show up and fuck you regardless of whether or not you even game them.
That is such a good technique just in general, is just starting at your place, leaving something there, or having a reason to come back that they basically just is assumed.
Yeah.
Then you do a very fun thing where they have a lot of positive emotions with
Buying
you.
temperature.
Then they have to come back there. And then they're already there. They're comfortable. They like you. They're horny.
Yeah.
And then you fuck them. It's so simple. It's
I mean,
so easy.
there are times too that I've actually not gone out to the nightclub and I just hosted the pregame, didn't go out to the nightclub, and girls came back and then fucked me. Like, woke me up from my sleep and fucked me. Girls that I've never met before, girls that I never talked to before, and they just decided they want to fuck me because they wanted to fuck somebody at the end of the night.
And the thing I like about that is it's being smart. It's like smart working, not hard working, right?
I don't need to go game
You're saying
for 2
like,
hours.
what are the key pieces that I have to execute so that I can end up sleeping with a girl tonight, rather than like just going and grinding it out after you've already got some success. It's like, what at a certain point it becomes, you stay in cold approach because you really like it and you enjoy the process. I still enjoy the process. I do basically every type of game. I do parties. I do fucking photo shoots with girls. I do I hook up with girls with my girlfriend. What else? Day game, night game, Tinder. I've fucked girls off of Omegle and like what was the other one?
Did you really?
Chat roulette. Yeah,
Did you
some of
really?
my first laves were actually from chat roulette.
That's fucking hilarious, dude. I still talk to some girls, and I have snap streaks with girls from Omegle from like middle school. And then the third VIP event is where they're already going. Like, they're already going out to the nightclubs. You can go meet them at the nightclubs and then invite them out to the same nightclub the next week. That is a VIP event. VIP. So fancy. And then the last one is we said photo shoots. Oh, dinners.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody eats, but not everyone goes out to the club. Usually the girls that go out to the club are a lot more flaky, a lot more into hypergamy, into status. Rollo Tomasi's The Rational Male, hypergamy, for those of you that know or don't know. And every girl eats. Invite them. There's a group of Italian au pairs that I used to go to an Italian restaurant with, and they were already going to go to the restaurant. And I just invited myself to kind of join along with them, and then ended up hooking up with 2 of those girls from that dinner. It's just like everyone.
And so you're
eats.
saying explicitly group dates?
Yeah, they're group dates. Like, I think that trying to get a single girl out on a date is one of the most gay things ever. I literally think it's homosexual. I went on a date and I literally felt gay. I was like, this is. I'm pretty sure. Like, I would rather like hook. There's more likelihood that like I'm gonna end up jacking off or something like that than like this girl actually coming out to the date, because it's just a high pressure situation for a girl. But instead, like, if I invite 20 girls out and each of them have like a 60% or 10% chance of like fucking coming out, if I invite 20 girls out, guess what? 3 still show up, and now I can pick from 3.
Mm-hmm.
Or I could pick 2 of the 3.
And
Like, I literally have more options.
And they have to compete for your attention and stuff.
You become higher value.
But also, are you talking about just singular dates with girls that you haven't had conversations with?
No, even if I've had conversations with, I still feel homosexual in those environments.
How is it homosexual to be one-on-one with a woman?
I feel very I just need more women around me.
But ultimately, you're not always having threesomes and foursomes. You're ultimately usually having twosomes, right?
Yeah, but the thing is that, like, you don't have to have a girl by herself to hook up with a girl by herself.
You don't have to, but
it's a lot.
not like a bad thing.
Every single time I pool, personally, I'll pull groups back to my place.
What about your Colombian chick?
That was probably one of the one-off scenarios where I pulled a girl by herself.
Because I forced you to cold approach on the program.
you forced me to cold approach. And
I'm sorry that my process.
I have
nothing.
I have nothing wrong with cold approach, right? So let me divorce the idea of what social circle game is versus what it's not. Social circle game is about suspending your disbelief, like I talked about, and taking the right actions to get you a specific result. If your goal is to fuck a girl, right? There are things that you can do that are results oriented, and then there are things that you can do that are personal development oriented. Going and working out at the gym won't directly help you fuck a girl. It is cool to have that. It is cool to have that in your life. That's awesome. It helps, obviously. But I hear guys that talk about, oh, I like this nightclub better than another nightclub. Well, it doesn't matter what your fucking preference in the nightclub is, dude. Like, it matters where the girls are that you want to hook up with. It matters who the guys are that are already hooking up with the girls that you want. So just do the things that the guys do that already hook up with the girls, and you will hook up with the same girls.
Mm-hmm.
Like, don't be like, oh, well, this club plays EDM music and I don't like EDM. Well, learn to like EDM if you want results. Like, don't do something because you're literally giving yourself excuses for why you don't want those results. Oh, I want to meet these girls through cold approach. Okay, that's cool. But what is just like the results-oriented focus on it?
Yeah, do the best method for the particular girl that you want.
And an example of that is, say somebody hands you $100,000, and then in another scenario...
Although there are, I should be clear, there are overlap. You can meet the same girl from a nightclub during the day.
Of course.
You meet the same girl during the day at a crazy nightclub or a party or whatever. Yeah.
So, there's different ways to get the same thing, and this is what I'm talking about right here. So, for example, say somebody hands you $100,000. They just walk up to you, and they just won the lottery, and they have this briefcase that's bustling with hundreds, and they hand it to you, and they're like, here, man, I want you to have this. And you open it up, and you're like, oh, my God, this is $100,000. This is awesome. But then, say on the opposite end of that you work 18 months, 16 hours a day, and at the end of that, you have $100,000. You grinded. You put your blood, sweat, and tears into it. You gave every single effort. You didn't skip a day. You had great habits. Well, guess what? You both have $100,000. You're not going to be like to the guy who walks up with the briefcase and be like, sorry, man, I didn't work for it. I don't deserve it. Like, who the fuck does that? Like, you take the money. It's the results oriented thing. You might not feel like you deserve that, but who cares if you get the $100,000? It's $100,000. Whether you hook up with a girl from cold approach or you hook up with a girl from her coming over to your house at the end of the night, regardless of whether or not you talk to her, both scenarios are the same as you hook up with a girl. If that is your goal, then that should be like a really easy thing to stop preventing yourself and initiating your own success barriers.
And then I want to talk about another thing. So throwing parties. So party game. Because we talked about pre-game, after parties, doing like small little VIP events. What about for someone who wants to throw parties and get laid through parties? What would you say the main factors are for throwing an epic party?
The first thing I would do is just go find out who has the parties already. That's literally the first thing. Is just when I talked about goal setting, right?
Yeah, but what if for a lot of people, they may not even be invited to these parties. They may not know people that have parties.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say they have a few girls that they want to invite and they want to actually like throw a cool party. They maybe know some guys with girls.
Mm-hmm. Well,
how would they orchestrate it?
I would look on Instagram first, and I would go to the top places. I'd go to the search tab, and I'd go to the places tab. And then I would look through different restaurants, different restaurants, like the top end restaurants. I'd look at the top end nightclubs, and I'd look at the top end beauty salons as well. And the spot where the girls that you like, I would try to find the girls' profiles of the girls that you like. So if you like dyed blonde hair, you're going to go look at a hairstylist page that has dyed blonde hair. And then when you look through the girls' profiles, you can figure out where they're already going. You can figure out the specific guys they're already hanging out with. Mm-hmm. And you can go follow that guy and send him a DM right away. Like, when you're talking about you don't know, this is the most connected you could ever be. Instagram is literally an encyclopedia of when girls go where, what they do, who they're friends with, and at what parts of the year they go on certain vacations. I know that girls from Arizona, every spring break, and I know the exact week, they go to Cabo, and they go to Cabo with specific guys. I know that if a girl lives on the East Coast and she goes to the University of Florida, she's going to go down to Miami for her spring break. All I have to do is go meet the people that are in Miami on spring break that are like have the type of nightclub access that I want, offer them value, which is the core skill that we talked about, and that's how you're able to gain access to these girls.
Yeah, but that's for like nightclubs.
You can go find guys who are throwing parties. The same thing applies in Scottsdale, Arizona. There was a guy who threw a party and Fisher played. Well, Fisher's a famous DJ, and Fisher played at his party. I found the guy, and I was able to get his phone number by offering him value of, hey man, I'd love to send you a client for a website building service. Is it cool if I send him your way? And then he's like, oh yeah, hop on the phone with me real quick. So now I have this guy's personal information, and he follows me back on Instagram now. Like, now I kind of have a little bit more warmer lead when I want to message him when he's throwing a party. Be like, hey, can I send you some girls? It's like all about finding the right people who already have the things that you want and just offering them value. So you don't need to go out and throw your own party.
I understand. But I just had a couple questions from people asking specifically, like they want to throw a party.
Okay.
So
but only after you've done that. And I swear I'm not saying this because like
no, I do the same. I do the same thing.
It's because this is the easiest way to get the results, right? After you've decided that people around you can't get those results, right? Or aren't around you to get those results. Then you want to find who the connectors are. So I would find the people who have the biggest networks. So for example, promoters have great networks. Mm-hmm. High status girls have very good networks. Photographers have great networks. But these are people that spend 6 to 8 hours a day already messaging people, meeting the high status people. They've probably been spending 10 to 15 years meeting people. And I would invite them to my event. And I only need one of three things. I need one of the master connectors. I need a location, and I just need a time and date. And those are the only three things that I need for a party. So I'll find a master connector, invite him or her, and they will invite 10 to 30 people for me. So instead of you messaging 30 people, you invite one person and they bring 30. Scaling game. And find a location. Like, people think that this is really difficult, but you can either rent an Airbnb, get $200. The money is never the problem in these scenarios.
Or just ask people if they have like a condo or a room or anything.
And you can find this on Instagram as well. You can find really cool venues for free on Instagram. And then the last thing is just setting a time and location. Being like, hey, man, we're going to go this Saturday and have a party at 2 o'clock. Invite some of your friends and what's going to be at this dope location, and we're going to take great Instagram photos too.
It's better to invite guys that have access to girls than to just invite girls. You should do both, right? But that one person that has access to more girls is better. Like, for example, your au pair lady
The
that had
master
access.
connectors.
Yeah. So you want to invite those master connectors. I didn't know that term before this. But it's like the girl that has access to a bunch of girls, a photographer that has access to a bunch of hot models in the city. One of my exes, she was a model fashion designer at this place in Toronto, and all her friends are models. So it's very easy to have models at your party if, you know, the girl bringing them as a model.
This is a private party.
Austen?
Do you have a membership to this party?
Yo, I have a secret handshake.
Él es mi mascota, señor Flamingo. Él es muy tímido, entonces no fotógrafo.
Okay, censor.
You put a censor bar over it. He's also naked. Mis hijas,
Hola, ¿cómo está?
muy
Señor Austen?
papacito.
Poppy Austen?
Do you want? No.
Promoters are the ones that are consistently around the girls that you want to be around, and that promoters are constantly hooking up with the girls that you want. And that's how I actually met DC Promoter at that event in Washington, D.C. And I really took that to heart. I connected with DC Promoter, got the bottle service tables, got the girls from that wanted to hook up with me.
Can I
just
pause
where
for a
I was
second?
sitting.
He pointed that out as like one of the main points of the entire seminar. And were you one of the only people that went to go connect with that guy?
Yes. There was
So
at
that-
least-
that just
there was
shows
at
you
least
how-
100 guys in that group.
And that just shows you like the action taking nature and how people are very slow to implement what they learn, right?
Yeah, guys who were under 21 weren't
Speed
getting
of
into the
implementation,
clubs.
right?
Yeah, speed of implementation and suspension of disbelief.
Yeah.
Suspend your disbelief that somebody else can do something that you can't.
Yeah.
Became friends with DC Promoter, and I just met all the high status guys that he had spent months and years meeting. And then I went to Vegas for a week. I went to Miami for a week, and I ended up moving to Vegas on a 1 week notice. And I was just really frustrated because I felt like I'd really capped out in my environment. I felt like my game was like 10 out of 10 for DC, but the girls that are there were only like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10. And my inconsistency in my result was not because of my game.
Environment.
My inconsistency was because of my environment. I could go to, the bottle service tables in DC, but they were the same girls every single night there. I had already hooked up with most of them. It was kind of pointless. So on a 1 week notice, I left Washington, D.C., and I went to go live in the Vegas penthouse over in Las Vegas, where everyone around the world goes to Vegas at least once a year. With that in mind, it's like you can meet any high status person you want in Vegas. Mm-hmm. That's how I got to Summer Ray's party, was from a guy who worked on Summer Ray's app, and then he was hosting them while in Vegas, and I got to go party for Summer Ray's birthday party. Now, I don't give a fuck about Summer Ray. Summer Ray is a great person. She's an awesome person, but like I could care less, right? But every single girl that I meet follows Summer Ray on Instagram.
Yeah.
And they look up to Summer Ray. And it's such a high value thing that I'm able to get free bottle service tables off of that. I'm able to get girls want to fuck me because I've met Summer Ray and partied with Summer Ray. Just like stupid shit like that. And I just get so much access when I go to connect with another high status guy, because that's one of the highest status things you could ever imagine. In nightclub access, or just connecting with high status people. And that's how I was able to build the fastest social circle in Vegas, New York, Miami, LA, cities I've never even been to, and be able to get free bottle service tables on my first night there. The first weekend I was in Miami, I got free bottle service tables from cold approaching some model, saying that my friend threw up, and then getting into the club for free, underage, in Story on a Friday night at the promoter table. First time I ever went to LA, free bottle service tables, and a place stocked with 20 other hot girls. People would recognize me on a daily basis in Vegas, and I've never met these people. I went to Vegas like in January, and I was walking outside Old Town, and 2 random girls recognized me. Like, I just have people recognize me everywhere I go because of these other concepts that I've thrown in there. And that's cool if you go for the results aspect, right? But there, like, it's cool if you're hooking up with girls, but also, like, it's also cool to be a good person.
Yeah.
I mean, I was an Eagle Scout. I started a men's society in my high school, helping guys get their first dates. That's actually how I met my first girlfriend. I was throwing group dinners when I was in high school, and teaching guys fashion. We dress up in ties every single Monday, and this has always been something that's been really passionate. I've been really passionate about, and social circle game has always been what I did when I was in high school. Dropped off when I was in college and started my business, but it's just me picking up what I was doing in high school in terms of helping people and offering value.
I mean, all the other questions that were Instagram questions have been answered in this. So you feel free to talk about whatever you want, or you can do an outro.
So you've heard a lot about social circle game. You've heard a lot about cold approach. You've heard a lot of the downsides of social circle game. But there isn't a lot of content out there about what actually social circle game is. And it feels like it's this thing that's out of reach. It feels like it's this thing that you don't deserve. But the easiest way is to just suspend your disbelief and take action. Find the guys who have the results that you're trying to actually achieve. Offer them value, become friends with them, and then learn what they do. Your results for the rest of your life can change with one social interaction. Making friends with this one guy in my life, DC promoter, has been something that I won't be able to undo my interactions with him. I'm not going to be able to undo the social connections that I have. Even if I really fuck up, like at this point, I have an influx of women that are hitting me up. I have high status guys that are messaging me and inviting me to events. And I have this freedom in my life that I don't have to be tied to toxic environments or feel like I'm held back. And it's a really big shame that the pickup community doesn't have more content on social circle game and how to have a healthy lifestyle in addition to social circle game. Being a nightlife promoter, it puts you in this context of like, you're constantly thinking about why a girl's going to leave you. You're constantly thinking about, how can I invite a girl? How can I beat the other guy that's over there across the table? How can I get into these high status events? And it really is a toxic mindset. What I look to really help guys do is figure out how you can actually define a healthy lifestyle in terms of your personal life, having the right habits that make you a healthier man, but also recognizing that just being a healthier man doesn't get you results. Mm-hmm. And I feel the pain of 10 out of 10 guys not getting the 10 out of 10 results, despite their action, despite the fact that they're going out, despite the fact that they've been cold approaching or trying to meet women for 3 or 4 years. And I really want that for you, to be able to take a step back, evaluate what your true inner goals are, and then just apply this one specific skill of networking and the one specific skill of goal setting, and just focusing specifically on those two things, because that applies in game that implies a business, that implies in anything and anyone you're trying to connect with in life. It's a very influential, powerful skill that not many people learn. Hopefully, Austen definitely teaches that from the healthy perspective, and he's definitely instilled that in me, being I'm a student of Austen as well. And I hope that you're able to achieve the 10 out of 10 results while being a 10 out of 10 guy as well. And Austen really embodies living the life, a healthy lifestyle, and meeting women from a healthy place, like he likes to say in his slogan. There's not a lot of that in the pickup community, so I'm very, very appreciative of being on this podcast.
And thank you for joining me, Patrick Red. Where can they find you on your social media?
So I have a personal social media account, pat.loves.red, which is pat.loves.red. And then I have my more content-driven account, Social Circle God. And that's where I put a lot more social circle tips. Nice.
All right, thanks for being on the podcast. I hope you guys got a lot out of that, and we will catch you in the next episode. Peace.
For a healthy sex life, I recommend Austen Summers' videos. Subscribe today to see immediate results. Side effects include excellent game, abundance, and semen loss.